How often do you think about your childhood? As adults, I think we tend to downplay the impact our early years had on who we ultimately grew up to be. It's a fragile time when we rely on our parents to guide us and shape us into normal, healthy people. And while there are certainly some of us who were blessed with this experience, there are many of us who were definitely not. I've been doing a lot of introspection and retrospection recently, and that process has led me to come to terms with my childhood. Perhaps just as importantly, it has helped me understand the importance of masculinity in my life. Let's talk about it. But before we get all the way into it, let's talk about masculinity. Over the years, the very concept of masculinity has been eroded into something that has a negative connotation. The very second I said masculinity, your brain likely produced a single word: toxic. It is recognized as the negative side of a coin, whereas the positive side is femininity. Masculinity is associated with people who are macho, brash, ignorant, and with a false sense of superiority. However, I don't think that was ever meant to be the case. I think masculinity, femininity, and the sliding scale between them should be used for self-actualization, growth, and finding community while welcoming all kinds. To me, masculinity means both physical and emotional strength, leadership, warmth, and understanding. In order to reach the point where everyone sees masculinity in this positive light, we need to deconstruct the presence of toxic masculinity. But we'll get into that later in the video. Today, we're going back to the beginning, before any of those concepts mattered to us, before we realized how some events would be carried with us for the rest of our lives, either consciously or subconsciously. Like many others out there, I come from a single-parent home. My dad wasn't around often, and when he was, it wasn't pleasant. I only had my mum, and this led me to feeling like I was missing out on important male experiences. Even at a young age, I never got to do the things my friends and the people around me did to do to bond with their fathers. There were no Red Sox or Patriots games for me, no tender father-son teaching moments, and no real male role model connection to speak of. Instead, I became bonded to my mother. As I grew up, I believed I was different from the boys around me because of that. That's not to say that understanding women or feminine energy is bad, but I felt disconnected from an entire community that I should have been part of. That feeling has been difficult to shake, even as an adult. I'm sure this pattern isn't unique to me, as it seems that there are many men who grew up without that desired family dynamic, and therefore didn't have a close relationship with their father in childhood. For those people, like myself, the precedent that was set was one of unhealthy relationships, fighting, and abandonment. Our families collectively had a low level of emotional intelligence and never sought to learn and repair those bonds, so we were left believing that's just how things are. We didn't know any better, and because the efforts weren't made by our parents, we carry that as life lessons. Instead of dealing with emotional turbulence and trauma in a healthy way, we just bottle it up and pretend it doesn't exist. Even worse, we feel that toxic relationships are standard, and we likely feel that we need to be unhappy in order to feel normal, leading us to perpetuate those feelings and spread them to the people around us, because that's all we know. As men, this cycle of negativity and toxicity can leave you with a constant depressive state and a damaged persona. Because of our unaddressed and seemingly unaddressable trauma, we tend to pick partners who appear to be projects. People who are facing challenges that are impeding their own growth, which can be personal, financial, or emotional. As terrible as it sounds, those flaws help us draw attention away from our own. We can become the nice guy who outwardly tries to help a partner overcome their struggles while ignoring our own internalized toxic shame. In mirroring the dynamics of our dysfunctional childhood relationships, we are just continuing a cycle that did so much harm to us. As a result, our relationships continue to suffer. Our family dynamics won't improve, we won't be able to eliminate our own toxicity, and ultimately, we'll never have our needs met. We'll always feel like something is missing, and we're caught in a vicious cycle. But it doesn't have to be that way. It's possible to overcome those childhood traumas and reclaim positive masculinity. We can become better people, better men. We just need to put in some hard work, and the first step of that process is doing something that will be extremely difficult, especially if you're dealing with a toxic masculine mindset: asking for help. The stereotypical male trope of refusing to ask for directions became prevalent for a reason. For some reason, we have been programmed to believe that we should be able to handle everything on our own, and that accepting, or God forbid, asking for help makes us weak, and therefore less male. That's just not the case, and that's something I'm still working on overcoming. Seeking help through therapy and being open with your community can go a long way toward healing, and it'll make the next steps much easier. But to get to that point, we first need to change our mindset. Have you ever seen the Disney movie The Fox and the Hound? Yes, it's a cartoon, but trust me, it's relevant here. In that movie, a fox named Todd and a hound named Cooper grow up together as friends. As they grow up, they are pulled towards their own separate worlds, where it has been determined that they are inherently enemies that are supposed to hate each other. That is what they are raised to believe. However, Copper overcomes his upbringing at the end of the movie to defend Todd from his owner. He decides he doesn't want things to be the way everyone says they are, and he develops his own way of thinking. Just like Copper, we need to overcome our upbringing and develop our own way of thinking. Don't be closed off. Put yourself out there. Don't bottle things up. Express your feelings. Acknowledge that developing friendships and strong platonic bonds with men is just as important as connecting with women. And most importantly, don't ignore your childhood trauma. Talk about it, reflect on it, and let it sit with you. If you don't come to understand how your childhood shaped you, you're probably doomed to make the same mistakes. When you start on that journey, you'll begin to be able to understand that your past doesn't have to determine your future, and breaking out of bad habits will become easier. From there, you can seek out the strong male connections you didn't have as a child, and relate to male friends on a deeper, more meaningful level. Talking about sports, beer, and food is great. I love all those things. But we connect by talking about the things that make us human, talking about each other's feelings, and trying to help each other understand those feelings and how to address them. If you're a man and the phrase "talk about your feelings" makes you scoff, you need to look inside yourself to figure out why that is, especially in this modern age. While there will be men you're able to connect to on this deeper level, not everyone will be so open with you, and that's okay. Becoming comfortable with rejection is another part of this growth process as a man. Take Bill Gates, for instance. When he became a 31-year-old billionaire in 1986, he was asked about the secret to his success, and he had this to say: "There's no secret. I worked really hard on my idea to get it as good as I could, and then knocked on door after door. I ended up showing my idea to 1,200 people. 900 said no. 300 people showed some interest. Only 85 actually did anything. 30 took a serious look. And 11 made me a multi-millionaire." So don't let rejection stop you from finding your success. You can continue to reclaim your masculinity in a healthy way by getting strong both mentally and physically, and finding positive male role models. Here's an exercise you can do when looking for those. First, visualize what a healthy male role model means to you. What traits do they have? What do they believe in? Write all of this down and try to think of people you know who already possess these traits. Seek them out, connect with them, and do your best to surround yourself with men like that. These are the connections that will help you change and grow. If any of this has resonated with you, I hope you know that you aren't alone. There is a community for people like us, and we can heal. By understanding our past, where we came from, and why we are the way we are, we will be able to better understand the world around us, how it moves, and how we can make it better. Don't let childhood trauma hold you back from becoming the best person and the best man you can ever be. Because every child is born into an imperfect world, into an imperfect family. Every child has abandonment experiences. Robert Glover. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe for more content just like it.